Want to make even more money with your podcast? If you're a podcaster looking for more great guests, you can now get paid up to $31 per guest you interview on your podcast. Yes, that's right. No, I did not stutter. And I'll even help you find and book these guests. It's not too good to be true. It's Podmatch. Just click the Podmatch link in the show notes right now to take full advantage of this exclusive opportunity to further monetize your podcast before it goes away. Welcome back to the Podgasm Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Fleming, and today I'm going to talk to you about podcast thumbnail artwork. A few key tips for creating the artwork for your podcast so it gets noticed by more people more often and gets more listeners to your podcast so it can grow, you can monetize, get more listeners, subscribers, and make this thing what you envisioned it to be when you started out. Because let's face it, if people can't notice your podcast and the ocean of other podcasts they're scrolling through, your show is not going to grow. So that's what we're going to cover today. But before we do, be sure to grab the free Speak Your Listener's Language PDF. It's a simple 3-page PDF that's going to show you 7 very simple keys to easily crafting a powerful brand message for your podcast that'll make your podcast more appealing to more of the right people so your show will grow. So go grab that. It's free. It's in the show notes. Just click Speak Your Listener's Language. Today, I have really just 2 big keys, and this is something I had to learn as a branding and copywriter guy, as a marketing guy. It makes sense. These things make sense once you know them, but if you don't know them, a lot of times you just don't realize it. So when it comes to your podcast thumbnail artwork, first tip is this. I want you to think of a billboard on the side of the highway, the interstate. You're going 70 miles an hour down the interstate, and a billboard grabs your attention. You have about, I don't know, depending on how close you are to it when you see it, 2 or 3 seconds, and that billboard has to grab your eyeballs. It has to arrest and grab your attention. Because if it doesn't grab your attention, you're obviously not going to read what it says or what it's about. So the first goal is to grab eyeballs, grab attention, a visual shock of some sort. Sometimes this is used with the color of the background, maybe big giant bold letters, maybe a funny picture or a short phrase or a word. This is what I call giving your podcast scroll appeal. Because as people are scrolling through hundreds and hundreds of podcasts other than yours really fast on their smart device, their phone, whatever, yours has to stand out and grab their attention so they stop scrolling and click it. A really good example of a billboard I saw, it was actually really funny. When I lived in Dallas, Texas, I was driving down the Dallas North Tollway. It's the main tollway that goes north and south through Dallas, Texas. And I saw this big, bright pink billboard and had a picture of an orange tabby cat on it. And its hair was messed up and the cat looked angry. It was just this angry looking cat with messed up hair, just the head. And in big, bold white letters, it said WTF with a question mark. I thought, whoa, that's funny. What the heck is it? And in smaller letters beneath it, in parentheses, it said, where's the funding? Now, we all know what WTF means, but they put, where's the funding? What was this for? It was for the Dallas Animal Shelter Society or whatever you call it. It was, for abandoned animals and stuff. They're trying to raise money. But why did I see that? That was genius marketing, by the way. It grabbed my eyeballs, bright pink background, like hot pink, an angry looking cat with messed up hair, and big white letters that say WTF. Once I saw that, then I was able to read for a second or two underneath it to see what it's about. And I still remember it to this day. That happened years ago. So you have to have that billboard appeal, that scroll appeal. You have to be able to grab eyeballs and stop people dead in their tracks. And let me ask you this really quick, fellow podcaster. Are you looking for an easy way to record your podcast episodes in world-class high quality, edit them in a flash, and make them live without all the technical headaches and confusion? If so, then you're in luck. Riverside FM is the premier podcast recording software that allows you to produce the same high-quality podcasts as other world-famous podcasters your listeners are already enjoying. Look, level up your podcast right now, even if you're brand new, you're not a techie, maybe you don't have a lot of time, so you can attract more listeners to your podcast consistently. This thing has AI software built into it that can cut clips from your podcast and do in 5 seconds what it would take you 5 hours to do. So you can share those to social media and get more exposure and grow you're following. So look, simply click the Riverside FM link in the show notes to grow your podcast to the next level starting right now. The second thing you want to do, if you're able to, on your podcast thumbnail artwork is put a few words that communicate the benefit or the value or the outcome that you deliver to your listeners that your ideal listeners will want. So for example, for this podcast, the Podgasm Marketing Podcast, as of right now, how our artwork is at this time of this recording, it says Podgasm, that's the title, and the subtitle says this: Get Noticed, Grow Your Podcast. Well, this is for podcasters. So getting noticed and growing their podcast, those are two very strong, beneficial, ideal outcomes that every podcaster wants to get. They want to get noticed so their podcast will grow. And that's exactly what I teach you how to do on this podcast using words. So it's effective. I have my title and then 5 words. Get noticed, grow your podcast. It's very simple. As of right now, again, my face isn't even on this because I don't think it's relevant. But the background on this podcast artwork is a bright red. So red, stop signs, red grabs eyeballs. And so I decided to use it for that reason. So let me ask you this. How does what I just said, these 2 points, how do these apply to your podcast thumbnail artwork? What can you do to make it more visually appealing where it will grab people's eyeballs? It'll stop them in their tracks and give your podcast more what I call scroll appeal. What can you do to yours to alter it to make it visually just more arresting and just jumping out, popping out, maybe some shock value or something visually that just grabs people's attention over all the other boring ones that they look nice, they're just not effective in grabbing attention. And then secondly, if you're going to put words on there, put like 1 benefit or 2 benefits. I mean, I'm talking like 2 to 5 words tops. Either 1 headline or 2 very short ones like me, get noticed, grow your podcast, and make those bold enough where somebody can see those visually. They can read that in when it's a little thumbnail icon as they're scrolling through their app, their podcast app on their phone or their smart device. But think about it. So shock value, stop them in their tracks, and then a benefit or outcome they want, type that on there in maybe 2 to 5 words, no more than that. If you know another podcaster who could benefit from this show, from this episode, click that share button and just send it to them right now. It takes only about 3 seconds. I'd really appreciate it, and I love the fact that I can help them in the same way that I'm helping you today. Do you struggle to write compelling and effective brand messaging that gets your podcast noticed? Do you want more people to listen to your podcast, but you struggle to talk about it in a way that grabs their attention and keeps it? If your podcast marketing messaging is not up to par, you are losing listeners. But maybe you don't know anything about copywriting and writing marketing messaging and such. Fortunately for you, I've been doing it for over 17 years. Do you want me to write your podcast marketing messaging for you in a clear, powerful, and compelling way that grabs your ideal listener's attention and makes them want to listen to your podcast over and over again? Each month I take on a small, limited number of clients and rewrite their podcast marketing messaging for them. Yes, I do all the hard work for you, and you just get to enjoy the benefits of it without any of the headaches when I'm done. If you want me to craft clear, distinct, and compelling marketing messaging that grows your podcast for you so you can attract more listeners consistently, send me an email right now at podgasmshow@gmail.com. There's a link in the show notes. And put the word consult in the subject line to check my availability.